What's up, guys? It's your boy AG Two Wheels, and today we're going to talk about my top 5 motorcycling myths. We're going to hop on the bike, go for a ride, and get to it. But before we do so, if you could hit the like or the subscribe button, that'd be awesome. Let's do it. Alright, so myth number 1 is that bikes are inherently dangerous and accidents are inevitable. This belief is usually held by people that don't ride, by people that are on the outside looking in. But unfortunately, this belief is shared by some people who do ride too. But it is not inevitable that you will go down at some point. And I think the reason some people have that belief is because they think accidents are out of the rider's control. They think that cars and other drivers cause accidents and motorcycle riders are just helpless. And I say this a lot on this channel, but I think motorcycle riders have a lot more say in their own safety than some people will admit. In any given year, between 38 and 50% of all motorcycle crashes are single vehicle. So you can't really blame another driver when literally nobody else was involved. And I also suspect that that number may actually be higher. I don't think that every dildo who drops his bike is calling the National Highway Safety Administration to let him know that he just jacked up his bike. How you choose to ride will be the number one factor in ensuring you don't get hit, you don't go down. Practicing good habits is key. Always having a plan for the worst possible thing to happen. Maintaining good lane position. Riding defensively. These are all things that can help keep you safe. So yeah, it's not completely inevitable that every motorcycle rider is gonna go down. So if you're a new rider or you're looking to get into riding, not something you're worried about. I mean, it's good, you should be worried about it, but you should also do the things to prevent that from happening. And I think we have a lot of say, a lot of control of our own safety. All right, the next myth, and I actually kind of mentioned this a little bit in the last video I made. The next myth is that motorcycles are cheap. And I think for the majority of people who ride motorcycles, they are not cheap. For most people, motorcycling is a recreational activity and not necessarily a primary means of transportation. So, I mean, sure, if you're going to replace a car with like a low CC, low maintenance Honda, then yeah, maybe the motorcycle would be cheaper than the car, right? But for most people, a motorcycle is an additional vehicle that they have to insure, an additional vehicle they have to maintain, plus all the gear to get started, then replacing gear down the road, all the maintenance. And then if you're like me, you're always looking at aftermarket parts and upgrades and thinking about the next thing you want to change. Then you're always eyeballing the bigger, better, newer version of your bike, or you're looking at different bikes. And then you start to believe that one motorcycle is not enough, so then you get a second motorcycle. So I think for the majority of people, motorcycles isn't a cheap activity. Yeah, maybe you can save a few bucks here and there by taking the bike instead of a car or a truck sometimes, but I can't look anybody straight in the face and tell them that, yeah, motorcycles are a cheap hobby. And some of these new bikes are so damn expensive now too, like the new Harleys and Indians. I think about 30 or 40 grand for a freaking motorcycle. That's nuts. All right, myth number 3. And this one's usually touted by motorcycle riders, a lot of people on the internet, and that's that you have to ride every day to be a quote-unquote real motorcycle rider. Like if you don't commute on your motorcycle every day, you're somehow not a real biker. You know, I got respect for anybody that rides on 2 wheels, scooters included. Some people aren't fortunate enough to be able to commute or be able to ride their motorcycle all the time, but it doesn't mean they're less than, doesn't mean they're not a quote-unquote real motorcycle rider. Yeah, usually more riding experience is obviously a positive. Usually the more experience you build, the better. But I have seen and heard of old heads and guys who have been riding a really long time, just doing some really dumb stuff. They somehow or another have gotten away with it all this time, and so then it just kind of reinforces those beliefs that they have that what they're doing is correct or right or safe. And anyway, I digress a little bit. So yeah, just because you don't ride your bike every day doesn't mean you're not a real rider. If you're on 2 wheels, you're part of this community. Period. End of story. Alright, so the 4th myth I see this one mentioned less and less, which is good. Well, the fourth myth is that chicken strips matter. You usually see this myth spouted off by people who are trying to turn motorcycling into some sort of penis measuring contest. But just because your bike still has the chicken strips on the tires doesn't mean you're a lame rider. And just because your bike's tires don't have the chicken strips on them doesn't mean that you're an elite rider or even a good rider. I mean, there's heaps of footage on YouTube of people quote unquote dragging a knee around a corner, shaving the chicken strips off their bike, but they're doing a plethora of other things terribly wrong, and their body position is terrible. They either go off the road or they go into the other lane, they wreck, or a combination of all those things. Yeah, people act like losing the chicken strips off your tires is some sort of accomplishment that you get like a badge or a sticker for. But the truth is, nobody gives a shit about your chicken strips on your tires. You don't need to try and impress people. They don't matter. So don't be pressured into thinking you have to ride like a jackwagon to try and shave off your tires' chicken strips. Alright, my fifth myth, and this might piss some people off. One's been talked about by old heads for a long time. My fifth myth is that loud pipes save lives. Now, before you freak out, just hear me out a little bit. I mean, yes, I will concede that you would rather have a loud motorcycle than a quiet motorcycle. Sure, but the difference is pretty negligible, and loud pipes alone are not an excuse to not ride defensively. And also, there are heaps of evidence and videos showing that loud bikes, loud exhausts, are not nearly as effective as those people think. The Doppler effect is real, and there's tons of videos and research showing that people don't hear you coming, they hear you going after you pass them. You know, the sound out of our exhaust projects backwards, and typically the cars we're worried about are in front of us, so it's not really that helpful. There's some studies they did with loud and stock bikes that show the loud bikes were only slightly more noticeable and slightly more likely to be heard by drivers, but the majority of drivers that did hear the louder bike couldn't even tell where the sound was coming from. So the point I'm trying to make is that loud pipes are not a substitute for riding defensively. You know, some people just like saying that as an excuse to wake the neighbors up with their bike at 6 in the morning. I'm not crapping on loud pipes, man. If you like loud pipes, that's awesome. I have aftermarket pipes on my bike, a little bit louder than the stock pipes, but I've never tried to convince anybody that I did that for safety reasons. Anyway, that's my video, man. Let me know what I missed, and let me know what you guys disagree or agree with. And then again, if you could hit the like or the subscribe button for me, that'd be awesome. Come on, bro. Why are you in the left lane, dog? But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, peace out.